She's out after this year, but who will replace embattled Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty? We'll meet two candidates today on Face the State. Democrat Mary Glassman and Republican Manny Santos. What are their chances? We're joined by Daniela Altamari of the Hartford Courant for analysis. Our flashback will go back to 1994 when John Larson and Joe Ganim teamed up vowing to lead Connecticut. It's all straight ahead this Sunday, June 24th, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis House. Today we're going to be talking about the race for Congress in CT5. We'll be joined by two candidates running, Mary Glassman, the Democrat, and Manny Santos, the Republican. And we begin now with Mary Glassman. She's the former first selectman of Simsbury, the Democrats' endorsed nominee, and also a former candidate for lieutenant governor. We thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So what made you decide that you wanted to run for Congress?
Well, Washington's broken, and there's a lot of work to do. And when I looked at the seat opening when Elizabeth Esty decided not to run for re-election, I said I have the personal experience as a kid growing up in New Britain and the professional background of being a public servant for the last 30 years and felt that I could make a difference and go to Washington and get things done for the people of the 5th District.
There might be some people in Connecticut say, you know, we've been sending Democrats to Washington for a long time. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe that's why it's broken. What is the argument to continue sending a Democrat to Washington?
Well, if you look at my record, I was the first Democrat elected in 40 years in Simsbury, served for 16 years, went up to the Capitol where I was legal counsel for the House and the Senate, served as chief of staff in the lieutenant governor's office. And, you know, I helped draft legislation as legal counsel, running back and forth between the House, the Senate, Democrats, Republicans, forging consensus, having conversations, listening, and I have experience to be able to do that in Washington. And I think that's what we need in Washington, and that's what I'm hearing on the campaign trail.
Last week we had your Democratic opponent on this program, Johanna Hayes. What makes you a stronger candidate than her?
Well, I'm very proud of the Democratic Party. We have first-time candidates running in all of the races, actually on both sides of the aisle. But this is the United States Congress. This is really important. It's high stakes. Congress has the power to declare war. And I just feel that I'm the unique candidate to go to Washington. I look at government as a three-lane highway. You have local government, state government, and federal government. And I've navigated the first two lanes very well in my public service career, gaining reputation of integrity, consensus building, respect. And I'm now ready to navigate that third lane. And I think that's what voters are looking for. Can we send somebody to Washington who has a record of working together, of getting things done, and listening, and just bringing things back to the district?
Is that a suggestion that perhaps Ms. Hayes might not be qualified to be in Congress?
No, I'm saying that I'm uniquely qualified. I'm the right person at the right time to go to Washington and get things done.
As you campaign, you talk a lot about your experience as first selectman of Simsbury, yet that was a position you tried to eliminate toward the end of your career. Mm-hmm. Why was that? Because
I really believe in good government. And when I was first elected as Simsbury's first selectman, it's a full-time chief executive officer. And it's a full-time position. And over time, government has gotten more complicated. And so I was a strong advocate for town manager and professional government because I've seen what good government can do, how it can make a difference in people's lives. When I was a kid growing up in New Britain, and when my dad died, my mom relied on Social Security and veterans benefits. And that made a difference in my life. That gave me the opportunity to go to the University of Connecticut, become a newspaper reporter, go to UConn Law School at night, become a lawyer. And that gave me the tools that I have to be able to run for Congress today.
Elections are about change. People want to send whoever goes to Washington to change things down there. And as you mentioned, you said that Washington is broken. The Democrats have been led for some time in the House by Nancy Pelosi. Do you think, if you're elected, that you would vote to retain her as majority leader and perhaps speaker? A minority leader and perhaps speaker.
So I'm really anxious to get through the primary, win the general, so I'm focused on that.
But a lot of candidates have already come out across the country and said, I'm not going to vote for her, or that I will.
Yeah, I think that we'll see what happens with the House, whether we gain the seats, whether we gain the majority. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to listen. What I've learned being in government for so long is that you have to be courageous and you have to listen and you have to do what's best for the people of your district. And I'm going to absolutely do that for the people of my district.
Is Leader Pelosi doing a good job leading Democrats?
I think today she's doing an excellent job. When you listen to the immigration trouble with children being separated from their parents at the border, it's outrageous. You know, that's what we need to go to Washington and stop. We have to stop the interpretation of the law. It's a really dangerous thing that we're seeing this president and the administration do, interpreting the law that says we have the ability to separate children. My mom was separated from her family when she was placed in foster care. And she and her siblings, there's 7 siblings, and one sibling was never reunited with the family. She was adopted. And so my family dealt with the trauma of that experience. And so I know how hard it is to separate families. And we absolutely need to do to stop that. And I think that Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats are doing a good job bringing this to the attention of the American people.
As you know, the Me Too movement is going to be a huge player this year, particularly in your district because of Elizabeth Esty and what happened to her this past year. But we've seen Senator Al Franken, who left office, a lot of prominent men lose their jobs because of some of the allegations. And I want to ask you the same question I asked Johanna Hayes last week. If former President Bill Clinton came to your district to campaign, would you feel comfortable campaigning with him because of how people are now re-looking or taking a new look at his past?
Yes, I would. And I'll tell you why, because...
But doesn't that send a different message to women?
Well, I'll tell you why. Yes, because he was a president and he did a lot of good things for the country. But with conditions, I think it's absolutely important that if the president were to come here and support my campaign, that would be with a commitment to have a conversation about his actions, his apology, and sexual harassment in the workplace.
You would confront him about that?
He would be part of him coming here and discussing it. I believe that we have to have these important conversations. It's not enough to say, well, you did something bad, now go away. I think we have to say, you did something bad. Tell us why you did that. Apologize, but then what can we do to stop it? And what can we do to speak out? And I think that, you know, certainly running a transparent office, constituent office, with a culture where people feel comfortable coming into your office and saying, we have a problem. That's something I've done throughout my whole public service career, and I think it's something that has to be done in Washington. So absolutely, I think we need to have important conversations, even if we don't agree with them, and have the courage to stand up and say, this is something we need to talk about.
Very briefly, what is your plan for the next 7 weeks before the primary?
Talk to as many voters throughout the 5th district as I possibly can, and let them know how important this race is, how important this time is, the issues, immigration, health care, Social Security, Medicare, you know, there's so many to even mention, and how important it is to have transparency in government, and how important it is to send good people to Washington to make a difference.
Mary Glassman, candidate for Congress. Best of luck this summer, and we'll have you on again. Thanks for joining us today. When we come back, we'll be talking with a Republican, one of the Republicans running for the same seat, CT5, Manny Santos, and we invite you to watch past interviews of Face the State on our website, WFSB.com, or on our YouTube channel. We'll be right back.